Let's talk about dating after losing one's spouse or one's partner, especially long term. Now, I know, and I'm sure you can think of a few people who lost a spouse and they immediately started dating. I'm talking about within the first few weeks. I've known people that started dating within a week after losing their spouse of many years. Grief is not fun. When we lose somebody we love, there is a huge hole in our heart. It's painful. I know. I have been there. But also, having made a mistake shortly after I lost my husband, I also know that we truly lose that initial period when we do that to properly grieve and to reconnect with who we are as individuals. And when we do that, we're more of whole people who have a better sense of who we are now as just us. And having been this person's spouse or partner, we're whole and we can move more into a healthy future relationship. So, without getting into the details, because it's no one's business, if you read my Lenten devotional book, you know I referred to this a couple of times. I had an inappropriate relationship just months after I lost my husband 32 years ago. And it's someone that had been a friend of mine. We were in an organization together, and he didn't have the best marriage. And the way that I justified it was, well, they didn't have children. And my mind was just out in left field. I mean, the whole family was flipped upside down with both my husband and my father-in-law's deaths. I can't go back and change that. But there is a beautiful story of forgiveness that happened later, years later, in that whole situation involving me, that individual, that person's former spouse, my children. And God has forgiven me, and I'm so eternally grateful for that. If I could go back and erase that, I'd do it in a heartbeat. If I had one of those men in black wands, where they forgot what had happened, I would use one, but I can't. And what saddens me about my situation, besides just being so out in left field and crying and not knowing if I was crying for my husband or this person, and my children were confused, what saddens me is that I did not take the time to properly grieve my husband and to connect with me, who Amy is as a person. I've witnessed people, and I know you have too, that they lose their spouse and they just go right into the dating game. I have witnessed people whose spouses have had long declines. They knew death was imminent, and they were already starting to work the dating circuit, not packaged like that, but just connecting with people that they might be interested in. And sure, part of that was probably just wanting conversation, getting out of the house, but I've known several people like that. We need to take our time. Now, no offense to the male species, but I have observed, and women talk about this sometimes when we get together, I think generally most men cannot handle being alone for a long time. And I don't know why that is. They have this void from the loss, and instead of truly grieving it and reconnecting or connecting with who they are as individuals, they rush into another relationship. And I've watched a lot of those relationships and marriages end. The average grief cycle takes 3 to 5 years, or maybe it's 5 to 8 years. Can you believe that? Now, you can shorten that. I don't think we ever complete our grieving, but you can shorten that by working with a good grief coach, or perhaps a counselor, a good one who's going to move you forward and not keep you parked in the past, or even a pastor, or a combination of those. But I think one of the most beautiful things, even as hard as it is to sit with our pain, because let me tell you, that pain will come back to bite. It came back to bite me after I had finished raising my children and my younger son went to college. Cracked that grief wound open, and then it allowed me to truly reconnect with who I am outside of the context of having been my children's mom. I'm still their mom, but you know what I mean, raising them, and having been my husband's spouse. I reconnected with me. So I feel that I'm a pretty whole together person. Oh, believe me, years ago I was not that. So just think about this today. Just sit with it. And maybe this is speaking to you directly if you have experienced a recent loss of your spouse or of your partner. It's hard. It's hard. I know. I have been there. Do some things that nurture your spirit. Lean into your friends. Lean into your God. Do the work with a coach or a counselor or a pastor or a combination of those. Become a whole person, as whole as we can be in this life, for the person that you're meant to be with next, if there is such a person. I could talk all day about this. I have a lot of experience there. Think about it. Growing Through Your Grief. It's a program I keep delaying that I'm putting together. I have the outline. I just haven't put the videos and activities together. But grief is a time we can really grow and we can get to know ourselves. And then if we're meant to move on and find love again, we are in a better place as whole people. Hope you have a great day.